Releasing in 1982 for the Atari 2600, Spider-Man was the very first Marvel video game ever created, sparking a legacy that spans over 4 decades of console hardware. From punishing 16-bit action games to groundbreaking, fully open-world New Yorks, the Wall Crawler's video game history is one of the most expansive and impressive in the entire industry. Today, we're going to explore all of the Spider-Man console games, figure out the best definitive versions to look for, and then hit a couple of game stores to see if I can complete the series. What's up, true believers, and welcome to another game hunting video. Now, last time in this series, we looked for every single Star Fox game. Today, we're looking at Spider-Man. Spider-Man is one of my favorite game franchises, and I'm really hoping to find and flesh out my collection to obtain every definitive version of his games, although I do feel like we're going to find some bumps in the road here. There are a couple games that I can think of off the top of my head that might just be completely unobtainable. And we're going to do this by visiting some retro game stores in New York City, Brooklyn to be exact. But before we get into anything, before we go on the hunt, let's quickly go over the rules. First, we're going to go through every single Spider-Man game and identify what the best version is. When we do go hunting, I'm only looking for complete in-box games. Black labels only, so no player's choice, no greatest hits. And I'm not particularly interested in any Spider-Man handheld games. I know that there was an original Game Boy Spider-Man series that was received pretty well, but it's something that I'm just not interested in collecting, so we won't be looking at those today either. And while we're out there, we'll also look for the Star Fox and Mortal Kombat games that I didn't pick up in my last videos to try and obtain a full set of those franchises. Now, I anticipate this video to be a little bit longer because Spider-Man has a ton of games, and we're going to go over every single one of them, and we're going to look for every single one of them, and then, depending on what we find, I'm going to show them off to you here at the end of this video. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So the very first time that Spider-Man showed up in a video game, actually it's the very first time that any Marvel character showed up in a video game, was in Spider-Man 1982 for the Atari 2600. It's a vertical climber where you scale a building, defuse bombs, and reach the Green Goblin at the top. Now, the 2600 was before my time. My first foray into video games was with the NES, and then even more so the SNES, so I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for the Atari 2600. Atari is just one of those systems that also just had really basic graphics and repetitive gameplay, and I get it. Atari walked so that the rest of the video game industry could run, but I'm not holding my breath on being able to find this one. I feel like it's going to be a rarity, especially complete in box. Next up, Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin. Now, this game released in 1991 for the Sega Genesis Mega Drive. This is a game that my cousin actually had, and I never really knew existed until I went over his house and played it. It's a side-scrolling action game where Spidey has to find keys to disarm a nuclear bomb planted by the Kingpin. It's a really hard game, it has some clunky combat mechanics, and while the Genesis version is iconic, the Sega CD version is the definitive edition. That version came out in 1993. It features animated cutscenes, voice acting, extra levels, a non-linear map, and like most Sega CD games, a really rockin' soundtrack. So this is the version we're going to be looking for today. Next up is 1992's Spider-Man: Return of the Sinister Six. This is an action platformer based on the comic arc. Spidey fights through 6 levels, each capped by a member of the Sinister Six. The game is known for pretty good character sprites and decent 8-bit music, but it has terrible hit detection, stiff controls, and you only get 1 life with 1 continue, and there are no items available to restore your energy. Now, this game did come out for the NES, the Master System, and the Game Gear. The NES version is the one that everyone remembers and collects. It is considered the best of the 3, so this is the version we are going to be looking for today. Releasing in the same year for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis is Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge. Of the games mentioned so far, this one might be the best. Versus the Kingpin might actually kind of rival this so far, but in this version, Spidey teams up with the X-Men, who are Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, and Gambit, to escape Murder World, a deadly amusement park run by the villain Arcade. The highlight of this game is its awesome soundtrack. one of the greatest 16-bit soundtracks ever created, composed by Tim Follin. Just like the other games of this time, it does have some punishing unfair difficulty. Now, I do have this game for the Sega Genesis, but the Super Nintendo version is considered to be the better version, mostly because the audio sounds better. The audio processing makes that rockin' soundtrack sound a little bit better than the Genesis. A lot of games I find on the Genesis sound kind of tinny, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I do think it works for a lot of games. But in the case of this game, I do think that the SNES version does have a better sound. So here is the Sega version that I have complete in box. As you can see, I still have the manual too. It's in pretty good condition. So if we don't find it for SNES, we do still have it for Genesis. A couple years later in 1992, Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage was released for the SNES and Sega Genesis. This is a classic beat 'em up that if you grew up in the 90s, you were definitely aware of this game. It was everywhere. And it covered the popular comic crossover where Spidey and Venom must team up to stop Carnage. Some of the highlights here are you can also play as Venom. It has awesome comic book panel cutscenes and another killer soundtrack by the rock band Green Jelly. Also, is that the Mob Rules playing in the background? This is a really good Spider-Man game, and up until this point, this is probably the best one. However, it is notoriously difficult to beat this game. Even on its easiest setting, it is just a really, really hard game. It's also known for its red cartridge, which was released on both systems, the SNES and the Genesis. The best version here is considered to be the SNES, again for its slight edge in audio quality. A year later, in 1995, Spider-Man Lethal Foes released. This is a Japan-exclusive Super Famicom game, so I'm not holding my breath that we're going to be able to find this one. It's also going for upwards of $1,000, and that is out of my price range. It's an action platformer where Spidey battles his greatest rogues with a strict time limit per level. This game is known for its excellent animations and web-swinging mechanic that actually feels fast and fluid for a game of this time, but also, if we are buying this game, it is Japanese only and there is a language barrier. It was never ported to the US, it was never translated. So it is still playable, but unless you can read Japanese, you're not really going to get the story. Again, we'll keep a lookout for this one, but I'm not convinced that we're going to find it, or we're going to be able to find it at a reasonable price. That same year, we got Venom and Spider-Man in Separation Anxiety. This is a sequel to Maximum Carnage. It threw Spidey and Venom back into the beat-em-up streets to fight the Life Foundation symbiotes. This is the game that finally added two-player co-op. However, unfortunately, it did feel like a big step backward from Maximum Carnage. It lacked the comic book cutscenes, the music was not as good, and it was pretty repetitive. The best version here is the SNES, again, just slightly better audio than the Genesis. Now, 1995 must have been a great year for Spider-Man because he got his third game, Spider-Man the Animated Series game. This is an action platformer loosely tying into the incredibly popular 90s Fox animated TV show. While it does capture the aesthetic and villains of the cartoon, this is, in my opinion, one of the worst Spider-Man games ever created. The controls are just bad, it lacks originality. I feel like they were really just cash grabbing off of the Spider-Man name for this game. It's frustrating, it's highly repetitive, it's just not a fun game. The SNES and Genesis versions have completely different level designs, different enemy placements, different mechanics. The SNES version is generally preferred due to its slightly better graphics and audio, but really both of these aren't great. But it is something we're going to be looking for. I guess we'll look for the SNES version, but I guess I can also pick up the Genesis version too. And now rounding out the cartridge generation, we have the big one. The grail of not just Spider-Man games, but most video game collectors. Talking about the Amazing Spider-Man Web of Fire, which released in 1996 for the 32X. It was a late release Sega 32X exclusive side-scroller where Spider-Man teams up with Daredevil to stop Hydra and the New Enforcers. Now, while this game is really smooth, it has rotoscope-style character animations and the Daredevil assist mechanic, this game is more famous for its rarity than it is its gameplay. It was the last game to be produced on the 32X. The 32X had already been discontinued, so therefore not a lot of copies are out there in the wild. Not many people have ever even seen this game. As far as the game goes, it's not even that good of a game. The combat is really simple, the hit detection is poor, and really it's just overall fairly bland. The 1 in a billion chance of finding this at someone's garage sale or the Goodwill or something to get it at a decent price is probably the only way I'm going to obtain this game. Because right now it is listed on eBay for in the 2,000 or 3,000s. And if you look at recent sales on eBay, it's actually even selling for the upwards of high thousands, close to 2,000. And I just can't stomach paying that much for a game. That is way out of my price range, especially for something that's not even that good of a game. And now we're getting into the disc-based Spider-Man games, starting with Spider-Man from 2000. This is Neversoft's groundbreaking 3D action-adventure that laid the foundation for modern superhero games. I had this game on PlayStation, and it was a blast. I loved playing this game. It was also just very true to the character, very true to the comics, to the animated series. It had Stan Lee's narration in the game. It has great voice acting too, and a ton of unlockable costumes. It really captures that perfect comic book tone. Now, the best version of this game is on the Dreamcast. It features the best graphics, higher resolution, and smoothest frame rate of the bunch. Now, this is a game that I do own, albeit the PlayStation version. And this was a Facebook Marketplace pickup a few months before I started doing these game hunting videos. I bought it for like $30, which I think is really fair considering it's valued at $40 at the time of this video. Spider-Man for the PlayStation looks great. Now, I will be looking for the Dreamcast version of this. As an aside, Dreamcast is a system that I am trying to collect a full US set for. Although I do feel like the Dreamcast version is a little bit harder to find, it did come out near the tail end of the Dreamcast lifecycle. Now, this game did get a sequel, Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. It is a direct sequel to the 2000 game, this time allowing Spider-Man to actually fight in the city streets. I didn't own this game when I was younger, but a friend of mine did, and I played it to death every time I would go to his house. It is just as good as the original Spider-Man 2000 game, although some people do say it feels a bit more like an expansion pack rather than a full sequel. And the engine does feel a little bit dated. It did come out at the end of the PlayStation 1's life cycle. Moving right along to Spider-Man, the movie, the game, which launched in 2002. This is a 3D action tie-in to the Sam Raimi film, featuring voice acting by Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe.
Tough day at the office, huh?
As far as movie tie-ins go, a lot of time movie tie-ins are pretty bad, and this one was very well received. Now, I feel like I did own this game, but I don't know what happened to it. I feel like I owned it for PS2. The best version of this game is Xbox. It has superior lighting, better textures, and frame rate compared to the PS2 and GameCube. So that's the version we'll be looking for today. And then 2 years later, we get Spider-Man 2, the movie, the game, the holy grail of 6th generation superhero games. This was considered to be one of the best games when it released. It broke the mold by giving us the fully open world New York and physics-based web swinging that really every Spider-Man game kind of built upon from here on out. The webs actually attached to buildings for the first time. The highlight of this game is just its open world ability. It did have some repetitive side missions and some ugly NPC models, but we can forgive it for that. I do own this game on the PS2. I remember when this came out and what a big deal it was. It is still complete in box. It is still in great condition. However, the best version is the Xbox version. Just like the first movie game, the Xbox version runs the smoothest and looks the sharpest. And then a year later, we got Ultimate Spider-Man. It is a gorgeous cel-shaded open world game based on the Brian Michael Bendis comic run, where you play as both Spidey and Venom. This was a game that I feel like kind of went under the radar when it came out. I loved playing this when it came out. It has a really great comic book feel, comic book panel cutscenes. The cel-shaded art style really fits Spider-Man. It really just got criticized for being a short campaign. Again, a game that I owned, a game that I beat and that I loved playing. This is one I might actually revisit because it's been a while. I think I haven't touched this game since I beat it way back when it released in 2005. Although I do have the PlayStation 2 version. Again, take a guess. Xbox version is the best. Slightly better resolution and performance over PS2 and GameCube. Spider-Man 3, the movie, the game, is next, coming out in 2007. The open world tie-in to the third Sam Raimi film. heavily featuring the symbiote black suit. It has a massive map, seamless transitions from outdoors to indoors, and fun, aggressive combat in the black suit. But it was incredibly buggy, heavily reliant on QuickTime events, and Tobey Maguire's voice acting sounds just phoned in. Honestly, I don't think I've ever even seen gameplay footage of this game. I was kind of out at this point. The movie not being up to my standard also is probably a reason why I had no interest in buying this game. This was the first Spider-Man game to make the jump over to Xbox 360, PS3. It was also on the PS2 and the Wii, but those are completely different versions that are just downgraded games. The best version is probably the special edition version on the PS3 that I believe comes with a little bit of extra content, but I would be happy with either the 360 or the PS3 version. Now that same year, we got Spider-Man Friend or Foe. It is more of a family-friendly Spider-Man game, a 3D beat-em-up where Spider-Man teams up with his greatest villains to fight a larger threat. The character design here is more based off of the Raimi trilogy. It's got some good couch co-op for younger players, and it is fun, but it is extremely easy. It's very repetitive, and it just lacked a lot of depth. Now, this game released on PlayStation 2, the Wii, and the Xbox 360, so take a guess. The best version here is the Xbox 360, just more powerful graphics, better looking graphics than the PS2 or the Wii. And then we enter a new trilogy of Spider-Man games, starting off with Spider-Man Web of Shadows. This is an original open world story where a symbiote invasion takes over New York, featuring a morality system and multiple endings. It has the best aerial and wall combat in franchise history, and the ability to switch between the red and black suits instantly mid-combo, which is pretty cool. It was criticized for being a little bit repetitive, some technical glitches, and a whiny, poorly directed voice performance for Peter Parker. It was released on the 360 and the PS3. The Xbox 360 is actually considered to be the better version. It runs noticeably smoother with less screen tearing than the PS3 version. And that is a game that I own. So we have this one. We don't need to look for it. Again, complete inbox, great condition. Spider-Man Web of Shadows. 2 years later in 2010, this was followed up with Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. It is a linear, level-based action game where you play as 4 different Spider-Men. The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, and Ultimate Spider-Man, and you play them across the multiverse. It's a really cool game, and I think in retrospect, it's getting a lot more praise than it did when it released. It is also a cult classic. People love this game. It's got incredible variety. Each Spidey had a different art style and gameplay focus. It's got great voice acting. 4 different classic Spidey cartoon actors returned to voice their variants, but it was criticized for being a return to linear corridor-style level design instead of being open world. The Xbox 360 and PS3 versions are seen as pretty similar, but the Xbox 360 version does get a slight edge for performance over the PS3. This is a game I do not have and I will be looking for. And then next up in 2011, we have Spider-Man Edge of Time. This is a narrative follow-up to Shattered Dimensions, focusing entirely on Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 trying to save each other across time. It's a great character-driven story written by comic legend Peter David, and great banter between the two leads. It was criticized for highly repetitive combat and environments, and a lot of people say that it felt like a step back from Shattered Dimensions. Xbox 360 and PS3 are both similar, but again, based on the research that I am seeing, the Xbox 360 has a slight edge over the PS3 here in performance. And that, again, is a game that I do own, so we don't need to look for this one. Spider-Man Edge of Time. Then we have a duo of more movie games. The Amazing Spider-Man movie game came out in 2012. It is an open-world epilogue to the first Andrew Garfield film. Some of the highlights are a web rush mechanic, which slowed down time to let you pinpoint traversal and combat spots, and a fun Arkham-style combat system. It was criticized for web swinging attaching to the sky rather than buildings. That was a huge step backwards from Spidey 2, and just having generic side missions. The best version here is actually the Wii U edition. The Ultimate Edition on Wii U comes with all of the DLC on the disc and uses the gamepad nicely for the in-game Oscorp phone. But if we can't find that, the Xbox 360 and PS3 ones are fine too. 2 years later, we got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie game. This was an open world tie-in to the second Garfield movie. It introduced individual trigger web swinging, the left trigger for the left arm, right trigger for the right arm. Now, I never played this, but to me that sounds like it might actually be kind of hard to do. They also had a hero or menace system that was pretty hated in the community. It punished you for ignoring repetitive side crimes, and this game was also criticized for just having a rushed development cycle and a messy story, probably because they had to get this out in time for the movie. Both of these games were kind of off of my radar, which is why I never really paid any attention to them or played them. The best version here, really, it's pick your preference, PS4 or Xbox One. And now we're getting into the current new Insomniac Spider-Man games. Kicking off with Marvel's Spider-Man, the Insomniac Games masterpiece, nominated for a ton of Game of the Year awards, an original take on a more experienced Peter Parker in a living, breathing New York City. This game perfected web swinging in games. It has great cinematic storytelling. I love this game. This is actually one of the few games that I 100% completed. I completed it on a PS4, and I bought this on digital. I don't have a physical copy of it, so this is something we are going to be looking for. And while the best version is on PS5, it is an upgraded version that I do own. There is no physical release for this, so we're going to be looking for the PS4 version. Now, following that up 2 years later, we get a standalone spin-off from Insomniac, Spider-Man Miles Morales, focusing primarily on Miles Morales stepping up to be New York's only Spider-Man during a snowy Christmas season. There are new combat mechanics that tie into Miles Morales' skill set, which are very fun to use. Now, it is a shorter campaign, but I actually enjoy that. I find that this game is a little bit tighter than the original installment. Now, this is a game that I do own, and this game came with when I purchased my PS5. So I have the complete inbox here, and as you can see, Spider-Man Remastered, which I own the digital version for. This game is great. Highly recommend. I actually think this might be the best in the series so far. But let's talk about the next one. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that released in 2023. I had a ton of fun with this game too. You seamlessly switch between Peter Parker and Miles to face Kraven the Hunter and Venom. You also do get to play as Venom, which is pretty cool. The map is bigger. Now we get to explore Brooklyn. And this is a game that I did purchase digitally, so I do not own this game either. PS5 is the only version. That is a game we are going to be looking for. So that is our list. That's a lot of Spider-Man games. So call me Kraven the Hunter, because we are about to head out into the wild to hunt for all of these Spider-Man games. Let's go. We're here in Brooklyn, New York, looking for every Spider-Man game. Our first stop is Brooklyn Video Games. And we do have our camera woman back. Alexa, say hi. And yeah, let's head into Brooklyn Video Games, see what we can find. Located at 6801 20th Ave in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Video Games is a nice little family-owned retro game shop. The family who runs the store were super friendly, and we spent a little longer in the shop than anticipated, just chatting about games and some of the conventions that they were going to. I am attending Long Island Retro this year, and it turns out so are they, so it'll be super cool to see them again during that convention. We did find a couple of games we were looking for. I won't ruin it though, I'll let you guys see the reactions. Found Spider-Man 2. Not a Spider-Man game, but a game that I used to have and I love, and I'm going to pick it up. Another Xbox exclusive, Shenmue 2. I'm going to pick this one up as well. We got two Spider-Man games, The Amazing Spider-Man for Xbox 360, Spider-Man 2 for Xbox. And then we found a couple other original Xbox games, PsyOps, The Mindgate Conspiracy. Loved that game when I was a kid. Shenmue 2, which is an Xbox exclusive. On to the next step. As you can see, we stopped to get some food and dessert on our way. Brooklyn Game Shack is located at 503 84th Street in Brooklyn. They had a lot of rare consoles and games that I don't really see in the wild. They had 2 Atari Lynxes and a bunch of TurboGrafx-16 consoles, and the most TurboGrafx-16 games that I think I've ever seen in one place in my life. The dude behind the counter was super helpful and friendly. Also, this shop was blasting Faith No More's The Real Thing album, and then they went right into the next album, Angel Dust, 2 of my favorite Faith No More albums. So yeah, this shop gets a thumbs up from me. But did they have any Spider-Man games? Let's find out.
Spider-Man 2 PS5. Yeah, we can pick this one up. There it is. All right. Yeah, this is the one that I saw on the Instagram post. Let me get Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball.
I'm not gonna judge yourself.
Xbox exclusive. That's the only reason why. Amazing Spider-Man 2 for PS4. Grab that one. Almost missed that one. I think I'm gonna pick these up too. Do it. So we got a few more. We got Amazing Spider-Man 2 PS4, Spider-Man 2 for PS1, and Spider-Man 2 for PS4. So, I'm sorry, PS5. Pretty good. We still haven't found any of like the classics yet. Some other games we got Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball because it's a good game and it's an Xbox exclusive. We also got X-Men Legends 2. Was gonna get X-Men Legends 1, but there was a scratch on it, and they notified me actually before I walked out with it. So just to play it safe, I didn't want to go with that. Anyway, on to the next step.
Now, our next stop was at Book Off, which is an anime store, and they specialize in Japanese games. So I was hoping maybe, just maybe, they might have Spider-Man Lethal Foes there for the Super Famicom, but unsurprisingly, they did not. It was still a cool store to check out, though. So we're gonna come home, and I'm gonna hit a few local game shops before we check out the haul.
What's going on, guys? So day 2 of our Spider-Man hunt here. I'm back in my home state of New Jersey, not in New York for this part of the hunt, but yesterday we did get a good amount. It looks like we didn't get any of the older retro games like the NES, SNES type of titles, but we did have a very big Spider-Man 2 day. We got Spider-Man 2 for the PS1, Enter Electro. We got Spider-Man 2 for the Xbox. We got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 for PS4 and Spider-Man 2, Insomniac Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. So today, gonna hit up the regular old kill screen games. I know they have, or at least they did have the last time I was there, a few of the older Spider-Man titles. And then there's a new retro game shop that opened up closer to where I live in Red Bank, New Jersey. So we'll be hitting that one up later too. So I'm about to head out and hopefully we can kind of fill out this collection a little bit more. See you guys down there.
Now, if you've been watching my other game hunting videos, then you know that Kill Screen Games is my go-to local retro game shop. Located in Asbury Park, they tend to have a lot of what I'm looking for. They have a large selection of complete in-box games, especially when it comes to 8-bit or 16-bit era games. But will they have what I'm looking for today? Let's find out.
Okay, no camera person today, but I see 2 Spider-Man games. Friend or Foe, looks like, for 360. Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. Also looks like Maximum Carnage has been spotted too. All right, and then forgetting to look under you, but Ultimate Spider-Man is here also. All right, they have this tucked away in the back, Spider-Man Web of Fire. It is real, it does exist. It is here at Killscreen Games. Unfortunately, I think it might be a little bit out of my price range. I know complete in box copies right now going for like $3,000 on eBay. But yeah, really cool to at least see. Absolute haul there for Spider-Man games. We've almost completed the collection. I feel like we've, obviously not going to buy Web of Fire because of how expensive it was. Maybe one day, we'll see. But anyway, let's hit up this last store and then we'll head on home and take a look at everything. I'm in Red Bank now. We're going to check out Retro Capsule is the name of this game store. And then I might grab something to eat because I'm getting hungry. But anyway, I'm excited to check it out. New store.
Retro Capsule in Red Bank, New Jersey was a nice little gem to come across. I actually discovered them on Instagram, and they are brand new, just opened up. It's a father and son running the store. I met the son and some of his friends when I went in. They were all really nice dudes. Unfortunately, the store didn't have any Spider-Man games that I was missing, but I did want to support them, so I did buy 2 more Xbox exclusive games. This store is now the closest retro games store to my house, so you'll bet I will be back. Anyway, let's head home and look at everything we picked up over these past 2 days. What's going on, guys? It's been a few days since my game hunt. I just haven't really had the time to dedicate to filming the end of this video, but I have the time now, so we're going to take a look at everything that I picked up from this 2-day game hunt, everything I picked up in Brooklyn, everything I picked up in New Jersey, and we're going to kick it off with the non-Spider-Man games first. Now, unfortunately, I did not find anything that was in my backlog of games from past hunts, any Mortal Kombat games, any Star Fox games, but we did find some pretty cool original Xbox games, original Xbox exclusives. Now, I think I've said this before, but if I haven't, the reason why I like collecting for original Xbox games is because when you compare the original Xbox to the PS2 or the GameCube, the original Xbox 9 times out of 10 has better graphics, better performance, it looks better and it plays better just because it was a much more powerful system. And also when you're comparing the original Xbox to the PlayStation or the GameCube for games, there's not as much nostalgia there as there is for PS2 and GameCube. So the games tend to run 3 times or more cheaper than the other 2 consoles. So that's why I've kind of been diving in on original Xbox games. They always catch my eye. I do feel like original Xbox is kind of starting to get its day, starting to gain popularity, but comparing it to the other 2 consoles, the games are still so much cheaper there. So we're gonna kick it off with something Spider-Man adjacent, X-Men Legends. If you've never played X-Men Legends, this game is incredible. It was a precursor to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, where action RPG, where you get to play as the X-Men. Its sequel might be even better, which I picked up both of them. Again, this game looks great. There's a little bit of a sticker on the end of my finger now there. I would love to see someone do an X-Men game kind of like this, but to kind of modernize it a little bit, where you have an action RPG, you pick your team. I do feel like the Avengers game that came out and flopped a few years ago kind of tried to do that, but there was too much of that like online element. Then we got the sequel, X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse. In this game, you get to play as not only the X-Men, but the Brotherhood of Mutants, so Magneto and his team. There is a large roster in both games. If you're a big fan of the X-Men, I've been watching X-Men 97, and I've kind of been aching to play X-Men Legends again. Lots of fun, and lots of fun if you're playing with multiple people. Now, before I get into the Xbox exclusives that I picked up, I wanted to show off a game that I picked up that was one of my favorite games, an extremely underrated game back in the day, and that is PsyOps: The Mindgate Conspiracy. I think Control is actually kind of a spiritual successor to this game, It's a game where you get psychic abilities. It was produced by Midway. Really, really underrated game. Kind of flew under everyone's radar. It ended on a cliffhanger that we never got reconciled. I did have this for my PS2, and I think I lent it to someone. I traded it with another game. Maybe it was like Mafia or something. And then I never saw it again. So when I saw this in stores, I was like, oh man, I loved this game. I'm going to pick this one up. This is something maybe a future stream might hold for me. I'm not sure, but really before its time, my opinion, probably one of the most underrated games ever made. And it was a really cool game too, because on top of using telekinesis, you could use pyrokinesis. You could take your mind and like mind control one of the enemies and then have them go and kill the other enemies. And then before your mind control runs out, you could take that enemy and like run off of a building and kill him too. Just a really, really cool game. And I love this game. Now that I'm talking about it, I just want to play it. Xbox exclusives before we get into Spider-Man. The first exclusive, Shenmue 2. So when this came out, this was an Xbox exclusive. As is Shenmue 1, we've got multiple discs here. And Shenmue the movie, which I gotta be honest, I don't know if that's just Shenmue 1 through all its cutscenes. I'm not sure. But Shenmue I've actually never played. I am trying to collect all of the Dreamcast games. I know Shenmue is kind of a heavy hitter there, and then Shenmue 2, I've heard good things about it. So adding that to the collection there. Next up, Grabbed by the Ghoulies. This was a game that was developed by Rare. It did also get released on Rare Replay. Might be a fun game to play during Halloween season. It's in great condition. Still comes with, so here's the manual. Next up, a game that doesn't really get talked enough about, or maybe there's a reason why it doesn't get talked about. That is Superman the Man of Steel. This is a game that got abysmal reviews. I have played a little bit of it, and it is not great. I do think the reviews may have been a little harsh, but I mean, hey, it's better than Superman 64, right? Good condition, manuals in good condition. Now, back when this game came out, PS2 and GameCube got Superman Shadow of Apocalypse, and then Xbox got Superman the Man of Steel. I do believe Shadow of Apocalypse is a little bit of a better game than this is. I've played both of them, but not enough to really have an opinion on which is better. Maybe this is something we'll jump into one day. We'll see. But it is Xbox exclusive, and it was a pretty good price, so I grabbed it. And then the Xbox exclusive that I got, Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. And I only got this because it's an Xbox exclusive. Now, I remember when this game came out, and I thought it was ridiculous at the time, and I was perfectly in its demographic at the time. I was like a teenage boy. Ridiculous game, but if we're gonna collect all the Xbox games, then we might as well grab this one too. Plus it's summer, and you know, beach volleyball, summer, why not? Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. All right, so we didn't find the Atari Spider-Man game, but the second Spider-Man game to come out on consoles, which actually came out a long time after Atari, I feel like almost a whole decade, was Spider-Man for the Sega Genesis. Now, the best version of that is Spider-Man Sega CD. So that is one that I did find at Killscreen. This copy is in amazing condition. Let's open her up. Still got the foam here. Now I just need a Sega CD to play it. And yeah, here's the booklet. Booklet looks great. Even has the sweepstakes on the back and an ad for Echo the Dolphin on Sega CD. This game is a little clunky. I've played it on emulator. I do think the artwork is pretty cool, and I do think that they did try with this game. It looks like it's barely been touched, so I'm glad to add this one to the collection. Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. Next up, we're going to Super Nintendo for Spider-Man and X-Men in Arcade's Revenge. Great condition. Let's unbox it here. So here's what the box looks like. Outside of the protective box casing. I love Super Nintendo and N64 boxes. And I don't know if it's because they're just so much more fragile than the like CD casing boxes, but I do think it just displays so much nicer. All right, so pulling this one out. Here's the game in its case. It does come with one of these SNES protectors here. Here's what the actual cartridge looks like. Flip that over. And then the instruction booklet that came with it. Minimal wear and tear, if any, really. I was flipping through this and I found it pretty funny. The artwork, I feel like, I don't know how they did the artwork in here, but a lot of the X-Men are just really washed out. Like, what is this storm blue like wings that she has on here. And then there's another one of Wolverine later where he's just kind of all one color. Let me see if I can find it. Like he kind of looks okay here, but then like, what is this? Because that isn't even his outfit for the game. It's like his X-Men animated series outfit, but it's like an off red. I don't know. So we already had this one on Sega Genesis, but the slightly better version is the Super Nintendo. We've got that one now. We can cross this one off our list. Probably one of the most famous Spider-Man games of this era is Maximum Carnage. Happy to cross this one off the list. An extremely, extremely hard, punishing game. There is a little bit more wear and tear on this box than there was in the Arcade's Revenge one, but it's still in good condition. Let's open it up and see that red cartridge inside. That's really what I want to see. Whoa. An ad for, what is this, Nintendo Power? Top Secret Player's Guide ad. We've got the instruction booklet, which again is a little bit more wear and tear. On the back end, you've got Mortal Kombat 2. If you remember when we opened our Mortal Kombat 2 SNES, we had Maximum Carnage on the back end. And then I think there's a poster in here too. Let's see, what do we got here? There is. It's the Nintendo Super Power Club poster. We've got a Star Fox one. And then on the other side, we've just got a Nintendo. It looks like there's Donkey Kong, there's Metroid. Pretty cool. Might hang this up in the game room. All right, let's check out that actual cartridge now. Here we are. Maximum Carnage. The red cartridge. Such a cool red cartridge. There was also a red cartridge for the Sega Genesis version as well, but really, really happy to pick this one up. What a great punishing game. Okay, so cross off Maximum Carnage from our list as well. And now that'll do it for the cartridge games for now. Let's head over to the disc-based games. Unfortunately, couldn't find Spider-Man for the Dreamcast, but we did find Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, and this game is just as good as the first one. This game came out near the tail end of the PS1. As you can see, there is an advertisement for Spider-Man the movie game for PS2 on the back of it. So I feel like not a lot of people played this one, but it is a great game. Looking forward to going back and playing this as well. These games also really had a lot of really cool unlockables, a lot of really cool skins for Spider-Man that you can play as, and it had a diverse cast of Marvel characters that would also show up in these games too. No, I forgot to mention it, but we actually did see a Spider-Man Web of Fire cartridge only at Killscreen Games. And they told me if I was interested, they would give it to me for the most recent prices for what it was selling for. Not what it's listed for, but what it was selling for on eBay, which is somewhere in the 700s. And to me, that's still extremely way too high. Like way, way, way too high for a game that I've played on emulator and is not very good. And for a game that's also not complete in box. So I don't know if this one will ever make it to my collection. We'll keep it on the list, but it's just something that I feel like is probably completely unobtainable, at least at this moment in time. All right, getting into some Spider-Man movie games here. We've got that advertisement was a foreshadowing for Spider-Man the movie, the game. I remember how big this game was when it came out. A lot of movie tie-ins usually aren't really that well made, but Spider-Man was a little bit different. This one sold very well. This game was incredibly fun to play. It did tie in with the movie. We got the Xbox version. That's the version that we're looking for. Yeah, Spider-Man the movie, the game. Great condition of the manual too. But an even better game is the follow-up to this one, Spider-Man 2, the movie, the game for Xbox. This is the game that really started the web swinging that you see today in modern Spider-Man games. It raised the bar for that, kicked that off. Now your web was actually connecting to a building. This was like the Spider-Man game to own when it came out. And yeah, if you look on the back of this manual, we get, what do we get? An ad for X-Men Legends. So pretty cool. This might be actually the best movie tie-in game ever. And I don't say that lightly, but it's just such a great game. And it did so much. It raised the bar, the open world, the web swinging. It's an amazing game. one of the best Spider-Man movies and one of the best Spider-Man games. And then finishing up the original Xbox section, we've got Ultimate Spider-Man. Beautiful game, cell shaded. Never played the Xbox version, but I did play the PS2 version. And also on the back of this manual, we've got an ad for X-Men Legends 2. So, yep. Ultimate Spider-Man, great game. Moving on to the next gen of systems, Xbox 360, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, something we picked up and can cross off the list. I think I mentioned already, this game was more for younger children. It did kind of follow the same art style aesthetic as the Spider-Man Raimi trilogy universe, as you can see from the characters on the cover and also the Spider-Man suit. It's a game that I heard was just okay. Then we've got The Amazing Spider-Man for the Xbox 360. This one did come with a dust cover, which is pretty cool. Remember dust covers? Here it is outside of the dust cover. It's in pretty good condition, I guess. I never played any of the Amazing Spider-Man games. Like I said, I was kind of checked out at that point. I don't mind the movies, but for me, I never really heard anything good or bad about these games, so I don't really know how they are. And then moving right along, we've got The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for the PS4. Did not find that special collector's edition, but this one is in pretty good shape. There is no manual, and I don't know if games were coming with manuals at this time. I'd have to check that, so we may be missing the manual here. The game wasn't that much, and we needed it for the collection, so I grabbed it. Now getting into the modern age of Spider-Man games, we've got Marvel Spider-Man by Insomniac. PS4, a game that I've actually played and beaten twice, once on my PS4, once on Steam. Now I own a physical copy of it, and they can never take that away from me. This one was a not for resale game. Some of the stickers still hanging on there. But yeah, I believe this probably came bundled with a PS4. And then the most recent edition, Spider-Man 2. It's a game that, again, I've beaten already on my PS5, but I did not have a physical version. So again, they can never take that away from me. I enjoyed Spider-Man 2. I think Miles Morales actually is my favorite of the three so far, and then probably 2, and then probably 1. There's rumors that they're going to do a Venom game. I'm not sure if that is true or not, but I hope so, because I do like these games. I enjoy them, and I just like Spider-Man. I think building out that universe, building out a Marvel in-game universe is going to be really cool to see. So there you have it, crossing all of those off of the list for today. What are we still looking for? Let's pull up my list here. We got a big chunk of them, but there is still a few games left. So we need Spider-Man for Atari 2600, Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six for the NES, Spider-Man Lethal Foes on the Super Famicom. Yeah, fat chance we're going to get that one. Spider-Man Separation Anxiety for the SNES, Spider-Man the Animated Series game for either the SNES or Sega Genesis. Not really too concerned with that one because it's just a bad game. The Amazing Spider-Man Web of Fire. Don't know if that's ever going to happen. Spider-Man for the Dreamcast, Spider-Man 3 the movie, and Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions for the Xbox 360. So that's what we have left. Now, next time, I'm going to actually be game hunting in Long Island Retro Gaming Convention. So I'm going to be hitting that up. I'm not sure if there's going to be a theme of games I'm going to be looking for, or if I'm just going to be trying to fill out my backlog. So we'll see. Next month's theme for the channel is a dinosaur theme. So I am thinking about maybe taking a look at going for the Turok games, going for the Dino Crisis games, maybe even the Jurassic Park games. Not sure yet, but I will definitely be looking to fill the backlog from Spider-Man, from the few Mortal Kombat games that I have left, and from the Star Fox games that I have left. So check back in for that one. In that game hunting video, I'll also just be covering Long Island Retro as I am there for the convention, but also let me know of other game franchises you would like to see me collect for as well, and I will keep them in consideration for future videos. Before I get out of here, a huge shout out to all of the supporters over on Patreon and YouTube for YouTube members. So a big shout out to our producers, Jake Weed, Tanner Trezza, Pezmage, John Forhan, Gregory Hines, The Badger Knight, Smash Jackson, and Tupalev. Thank you guys for your support. If you would like to support Master Replay, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member or a patron on Patreon. At the VIP viewer level, you'll get all of my videos early and ad-free, plus you will get an extra video from me each month. And at the producer level, you'll get your name shouted out at the end of my videos, just like I did for our producers here. That'll do it for me. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It really does help me out. And until next time, I hope you see me on my next video. Thanks for watching, guys.